Hello there. Today I'm going to be taking a look at my top 10 figures of 2025. Now, I must specify that this is figures that I personally purchased or received this year, not necessarily figures that actually released this year. I will also be taking a look at my top 5 worst/most disappointing figures and my most surprising figures of the year. Now, starting off, I'm going to be looking at the most surprising figures of the year for me. This is just figures that either surprised me in terms of what they could achieve for what they are, or they just caught me off guard and I wasn't expecting them to actually be good. At number 5, we have Ruckus from the Doom and Destruction 2-pack. This figure surprised me just because it is a remold of the Beachcomber mold. It completely changes that mold to be a completely different figure, and it's somehow much larger than any normal deluxe you would see. Has a very substantial amount of remolding done to it, and it has a good amount of paint, and it surprised me in terms of what it could achieve for it just being a remold in an online exclusive 2-pack. At number 4, we have Earthspark #. This figure caught me off guard with just how much it was able to achieve for being a Earthspark Deluxe. The Earthspark Deluxes are generally $5 cheaper than normal Deluxes in mainline, so obviously you would expect them to have lower budgets, which they do have, and obviously smaller parts count, less paint, but surprisingly she doesn't. She actually has a very similar transformation to something like Legacy Strongarm, yet she does all of the same things, including the transformation, better. She pulls off a better truck mode, better robot mode that's sleeker. It's not as finicky to transform. It's very impressive with what they could achieve for this budget. At number 3, we have Legacy Animated Bumblebee. Now, this figure I received from my good friend Lock on Prime, but I originally skipped this figure thinking it's too expensive for a deluxe, too small, whatnot, all that sort of stuff. But now having it in hand, while it is small, the figure is very well posable, very fun to transform. I was very impressed with how fun it is to transform back and forth. There's just a secret sauce to it, and it's finally not a grumpy-faced Bumblebee for once. At number 2, we have the Legacy Star Raider 2-pack with Thundertron and Calcitron. Now, this 2-pack surprised me because of how well it uses the leader class price point. It's not increased in price. I was shocked to see that they included an entire deluxe next to a Voyager as well as a whole cassette and didn't increase the price. You get a crap ton of stuff and play value for your money there, considering a lot of leaders now are just Voyagers that have a slightly higher parts count and just random accessories thrown in. I was shocked to see how good a value it was, and I frankly think it's a very underrated set. Now, the number 1 most surprising figure is actually going to appear on another list here later. It is Studio Series KSI Widow. This figure amazed me in terms of just how good a deluxe it is. This brought back the Viacon engineering, and it finally felt like a deluxe that was actually worth what they were asking for. There's not a bunch of hollowness everywhere, and it doesn't have clear plastic painted over everywhere. It has actual clear plastic inserts. This was a very well done figure, and I really hope that they can bring more deluxes into Studio Series at this level of quality. Now, moving on to the figures that I personally consider either the worst of the year or just most disappointing. This doesn't necessarily mean any of these figures are actually terrible or bad. However, I will specify if they are. At number 5, we have Rise of the Beasts Voyager Optimus. Now, people will probably be pretty surprised to see this on the list. This is simply a disappointing figure to me because of just how hyped up it was. Everyone was hyped around it. The original release of this skyrocketed to who knows how much money. Now, the figure isn't necessarily bad. It has good articulation for the most part. It's impressive for what it did with the remolding, but the shoulders are very strange. I don't like how they work. The drop-down hips are nice, but they do look awkward in how they're done. But the most disappointing aspect to me is the back of the truck, for some reason, just has giant flaps sticking out. Again, it's not a terrible figure. It's not bad. I just wasn't all that impressed. At number 4, we have Studio Series Leader Class Age of Extinction Optimus. Now, this figure I personally just didn't like for the leader class price point. I think it is a fine figure. However, I did not think it did enough over the original Last Night Voyager. It has problems like a giant backpack that they apparently expect you to remove. The knees and the waist joint are awkwardly placed, making articulation look weird and not all that useful. And then mine had a really loose right arm, and like certain joints on it are randomly loose while others are tight. This thing is tiny. It's as short as the Voyager Galvatron. I didn't enjoy this. And surprisingly, this guy's making figure of the year lists. Now, at number 3, we have a figure that will weirdly come back on a different list, HasLab Omega Prime. Now, this figure is up at number 3 because of how disappointing he is. Not because of being a bad figure, because he's actually a very, very good figure, and he will come back on a different list later. But he was one of the most disappointing releases this year just because of the stupid, completely avoidable breakage that he has. Hasbro, for some stupid reason, made a very easy to break design inside of the rail system in his chest, and even though it was fairly easy to fix yourself, Hasbro, for some stupid reason, when they came back to fix it, just did the fix everyone else did online and sanded it, except worse. So yeah, it was a fairly disappointing release considering that situation. Now at number 2, we have an actually bad figure, Legacy Medics. This figure is such an unexpectedly bad figure for me. I have a repaint of the Skids mold already, so when I was picking this up, I wanted to see the Crankcase version of the mold. So I picked him up because I liked his color scheme. What I wasn't expecting with the remold process was floppy arms, uneven tolerances in the legs, and it has uneven tolerances in the shoulder guns, and then the chest doesn't tab in. And the thing that's supposed to be holding it on the back doesn't tab in either. So if you move his arms, his chest flails around, and his arms can't even keep themselves up half the time. Yeah, this figure was pretty bad, considering he honestly shouldn't have been. It's a fairly simple mold, but it was a pretty disappointing figure for how insanely simple and easy of a remold it should have been. Now, at number 1 for worst figure of 2025, Studio Series Dark of the Moon Hatchet. This figure, I already thought it looked mediocre from the renders. The figure itself sucks. You can't transform it without panels flying off of it for some stupid reason. It has stupid thin plastic for the entire outside of the car. The neck can't move side to side, so his head can't really do much. The proportions are just completely horrible with long rear legs, sunken in shoulders. The jaw looks awkward and flat on him, and his feet barely ever sit on the floor flat because none of them are sculpted to properly stand. His tail falls off if you just breathe on it, and it also has a giant backpack on top of it because, of course, why wouldn't it? The insanity of reusing the Berserker mold, I don't understand it. I do not understand why they did it, how they thought they could get away with it, but they did. And it was stupid, and I hate this thing. It is the one stupid thing that I wish I didn't buy. It is genuinely garbage. Now, for my top 10 best figures of 2025 that I purchased or received. At number 10, we have Earthspark Soundwave. Now, this figure was a bit of a stealth release because they barely even released before it was gone. This thing, again, is a Earthspark Deluxe that is $5 cheaper than mainline deluxes, yet it uses its budget insanely well. This thing's engineering is super simple and clever, flattening out and making a very giant stealth bomber. Has great engineering, great articulation, and it's pretty solid feeling, honestly. It doesn't feel cheap at all, and it uses its limited paint budget very well. Now at number 9 is a returning figure, HasLab Omega Prime. This figure, like I said in the other list, wasn't bad. Outside of the actual breakage problem, he was an amazing figure. It is a great remake of the original toys. Ultra Magnus and Optimus being great figures, and them coming up with a weaponizer for them as well with blue bolts, just to have Magnus's gun be more useful. And then on top of that, you get stuff like Chrome and all that. Very well built figures, all things considered, and very well engineered, sculpted. The size is great. They're very fun and very playable. It's an amazing set that was just unfortunately let down by some real stupidity with the rail system. That's the only reason he's this low on the list. At number 8, again a returning figure, Age of Extinction Widow. Now this figure, again, like I said, amazing deluxe. It's built really well, colorful, sculpted well, has nice weapons, weapon storage. None of the paint apps make it feel like it's missing anything. Its engineering super clever, clean, doesn't have an annoying backpack, and it has a beautiful licensed alt mode that we haven't really seen before. It's a great figure, very much recommend it, it's awesome. Now, at number 7, we have 3-0 Optimus Primal from Rise of the Beasts. This figure was amazing. I absolutely love this thing. 3-0 always seems to knock it out of the park with high-quality figures. The painting on it, amazing. The sculpting's beautiful. Just insane levels of mechanical detail work on it. Obviously, light-up features, tons of accessories, die-cast, amazing articulation, absolutely insane. And it has very nice engineering for a figure that doesn't transform, with just spinal detailing, pistons, and all that. It felt like a very next-level figure. Now at number 6 we have MMC's IF Drift. Now this drift turns into the Toyota Trueno. It's obviously modeled after IDW Drift, very much captures that look, has amazing articulation, especially on the hands. Those things are insane. The lovely face options, and this version did come with an alternate head, looks great. The build, super solid feeling. Transformation was slightly iffy, but it's fun for the most part. Has a nice interior in the car mode's beautiful. Robot mode is great, only slightly let down by the fact that unfortunately the fingers can be kind of fragile, and because of how tight they are, it's kind of easy to break them, unfortunately. Now, at number 5 is a figure that I got basically right before the end of the year, is Dreamstar Toys Scrapper. I was hesitant to get this figure purely because of Dreamstar Toys' previous failure with their aerial bots, where it seemed to be a kind of a disaster. This figure is built well, has great paint, has great paintwork, it has great articulation. It has a wonderful looking design that's nice and stylized while still maintaining the character of Scrapper. And it has a actual well thought out transformation. It's very smart, well thought out, and it's very big for its price tag. It's a very nice figure. I very much am looking forward to getting the rest of the set. At number 4, we have MMC returning with their Deathsaurus. This specifically being the Year of the Dragon edition. Super solid feeling plastic. The transformation is pretty darn fun. It's not simple or overly simple, but it's very easy to do. The sculpt, amazing. The head sculpt is insanely good looking. The paint is very nice while not obviously covering the whole thing. They do every paint app that you actually need on this thing, and this version of him does come with both sets of wings, which I do think they look great. I love the articulation on it. The little beast lion that he comes with, that's great as well. The accessories are all pretty well thought out. The only thing that I think slightly lets him down is his all mode does look a bit more like a chicken than it does a dragon. At number 3, we have Fans Hobby Overlord. This figure I have wanted for years. Well, I finally got around to getting it this year, and it is amazing. Also a very fun toy. It's massive, super solid feeling while not being overly weighty. The split vehicles, very nice fun vehicles to mess with. The tank has tons of little features on it, same with the jet. The robot mode itself, super posable, well articulated, and surprisingly easier to balance than I thought, considering how people mentioned it was hard to pose. It has those little breastmasters that are just very fun little figures to put in the cockpits and everything. It's awesome. I very much dig the play factor of the figure. At number 2, we have New Age's Dark of the Moon Megatron. This figure is absurdly good. It's painted head to toe, and thankfully the paint doesn't chip off easily, doesn't come off onto your hands all that easily either, so it's very nice sturdy paint, and it looks like it's actually weathered. Despite being very complicated, transformation is actually pretty simple to follow. It's beautifully sculpted, comes with like a cool cape and all the accessories you'd want, even Igor. It's great. It's an amazing figure, well articulated considering the design. It's a great figure. I was shocked by this. It's a very expensive figure, but thankfully they do actually give you basically what he's worth, which is great. Now at number 1, we have TFC Toys' ST Commander Optimus. Now this figure is rather old, but I did get him this year, and he is insanely good. I'm amazed at how good it is for what I originally thought would just be, another Optimus. Super solidly built, has really good ratchets. The tolerances on these ratchets is great. Has tons of playability with tons of different configurations with his armor, multiple configurations for the vehicle mode, the robot modes. It has amazing articulation for how old it is. It somehow outdoes modern figures there. It has tons of accessories for weapons, especially the giant missile, and is painted basically head to toe. I was amazed by this thing. And originally, I just bought this because I just sort of was scrolling and thought, oh, I remember this. I've wanted it for a while. I'll get it. And this thing blew me away. This is just peak third party for me that I highly, highly recommend. It is easily my figure of the year. But that wraps up the year of 2025. It was a pretty darn good year for collecting for me. Even though I didn't get all that many figures from the actual year itself, I ended up getting quite a lot of very good figures and catching up on old figures that I wanted. Honestly, the upcoming year for collecting looks pretty darn good. Hopefully I'll be doing this list next year as well. And hopefully I'll have some great figures to cover on that one. But have a good one, everyone, and see you around on the next video. Bye, guys.